Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel for day 6 of my 30-day challenge. It's almost been a whole entire week and I'm not the best at being consistent, so I'm pretty proud of myself right now. Thank you if you've been tuning in this entire time. I'm so glad to have you here. So for day 6, what we're going to talk about is how to plan a trip in 7 easy steps. I am a flight attendant by trade. I'm a nomad by choice. Ooh, that's a nice tagline. I've been traveling consistently for the last 6 years. So planning trips and being on the road is something that I am definitely knowledgeable in. So I wanted to tell you guys how I plan my trip every single time without fail. So step 1, when I decide that I want to go on a trip, the first thing that I do is decide if I want this trip to be a short, fun trip or a longer term trip. I like to do both because I do like to get a full cultural experience when I travel, but I also like the short fun vacation. You're gonna want to consider your budget. You're going to want to consider what time of year you want to travel, and you're also going to want to consider how long you're going to be gone for. With these 3 factors, you can choose a destination. I think it's important to take all 3 of those items and decide what's really important to you. Because if you want to go on a long-term trip, you're not going to pick somewhere that's super expensive. What you want to do is you want to choose a place that you can afford to live in on a day-to-day basis for a couple weeks, a month, 2 months, 3 months, however long you decide that you want to be away for. And with that, even if you do decide on a destination that is affordable and it matches your budget for a long-term trip, you need to still make sure that the weather is going to be okay, that there's no tsunamis, that it's not a place that's going to be really cold and really hard to get around. You have to consider all these different things. What are the 3 things that you want to keep in mind? It's going to be the time of year, your budget, and how long you want to be away for. Number 2, do your research. Do your research before you book your plane ticket. Do your research before you book your plane ticket. This will make your life so much easier. It's so fun to book your ticket and be on a whim and do all this stuff, but if you don't know enough about the area, it could be a total disaster. My experience, and I've definitely done this before, where I've just booked a trip and travel, yeah, and then I get there, I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I do? I didn't know how much the hotels cost. I had no idea that food was this expensive here. How am I gonna get from point A to point B? Do that research before you book your ticket. That will determine exactly what type of trip you're gonna end up taking, how you're gonna travel. It has so much impact on the way your trip is gonna go, if it's gonna be smooth, if it's gonna be crazy. You can always count on at least one crazy thing when you're traveling, but try and make it as smooth as you can. That's number 2. Number 3, the fun part, book your flight. So a couple of tips. When I book my flights, I always look for the best price with the shortest amount of travel time. Over time, I've gotten a little bit more bougie and luxurious, and I don't like to take obscure routes to get from point A to point B. I'd rather pay the extra $100 to $200 to get me to my destination quicker. So if that's what you're looking for, keep an eye on the flights. You don't have to buy them at the same time. For example, I'm going to Mexico in March, and right now I have my one-way ticket to Mexico. Why? Because the flight price was awesome. It was awesome, but the return flight was $600. So what I'm gonna do is wait until prices drop for the return flight, and then I'm gonna purchase it. So you can purchase your flight separately. Sometimes if you have a longer trip, it's a lot cheaper to purchase the round trip ticket for a 3-month trip. The problem with that is though, usually it's a round trip out of the same destination, but if you can go in a loop, it's great. When I went to Southeast Asia, I bought my flight to Thailand, and I bought to Thailand was a round trip ticket, and it was so falling. My trip was 4 months long, and that ticket was so cheap, and I bought it as a round trip ticket. And the reason it was so cheap was because the return flight was coming back a lot later. So there's different ways that you can purchase your ticket that will fit into your budget. But first you have to decide where you're going. Second, you have to do your research to make sure it's still an affordable place for you to go and that the weather is gonna be okay. And that's when you purchase your ticket. Step number 4. So we all know this, right? Every country is different, which means every city in every country is different. So when you decide to plan your trip, you need to choose what is the most important thing for you to do, especially if you're on a shorter trip. If you're on a longer trip, travel slow, go see a lot of different places, don't have as much of a plan. But if you are on a shorter trip, even, I mean, from 1 weekend to like 2 to 3 weeks, those are typically shorter trips depending on where you're going. That is when you want to narrow down exactly what you want to do, what the most important thing to see is, and how you're going to accomplish it. And by doing this, you're going to reach number 5, step 5, which is going to help you plan your route. Now, when you're taking a shorter trip, you should be taking into account if you want to do a cooking class, if you'd like to just go look at art, if you want to drink, if you want to see the beach, if you want to party. Like, those things are vastly different. Some cities have all of it, but you could go to a city that's mainly about the food and there's no party scene. It's a quaint town, it's small, and for some people it's perfect and for other people it's not. Or maybe at the beginning of your trip it's perfect, you know, you want to have that like experience, soak in the culture, but at the end of the trip you just want to have a good time, let your hair down, do whatever you need to do. So you need to make sure that when you do decide to take your trip, that you're planning your route and you're doing your research adequately. That way you make the most of your time and you're not stuck twiddling your thumbs thinking, okay, well, what do we do now? What do we do now? Needless to say though, on that same note, don't over structure your trip. Make sure that you leave a little bit of leeway for things to happen, or if you stumble upon something awesome, that like you're not so overscheduled that you can't go get dinner with like the Pope if you're in Rome. You know what I mean? Like, that won't happen, but you get my point. So make sure that you leave enough leeway in your trip, but also structure it enough so that you're not left like, oh my God, and when you get home you feel like you didn't do anything because you were so like confused the whole time you were there. So number 5, once you do establish what you want to do, you're going to start to plan your route. The best part about this is that that's when you can begin to book your hotels and see what type of places you want to stay in, see what the overall cost is going to be. My suggestion, if it's a smaller, shorter trip, start booking your hotels ahead of time. I know there's some people out there that might not say no, and to be honest with you, I'm kind of a fly by the seat of my pants person, but the last few trips I've been in, I have pre-planned slightly and gotten our hotel rooms and you know, kind of pieced my trip together for like the shorter trip, so like 1 week to 3 weeks. And let me tell you, not only does it save so much headache, but it ends up being a little bit cheaper and you end up staying in a little bit nicer places because you already know what the accommodation is going to be. You know how much you're spending. And especially if you're going to like Europe or Asia, they usually will take the payment out immediately. So like as soon as you have money to book these places, book them, and then part of your trip is paid for. The most expensive part is going to be your accommodation and your flights. So that's a great way to do it. Also, when you're planning your route, you want to see if there's a train available, if you're going to be taking a bus, or if you need to take a smaller planes to jump back and forth, or if maybe you should rent a car. It all depends on like the area that you're going to. Total personal decisions too. Like when I travel by myself, I love public transit. Like it is my jam. I feel safe. I feel like I don't have to worry. Like it's just easy for me. However, when I travel with my family, public transportation doesn't really work for us. We would rather rent a car. We'd rather have control of the situation and be able to do whatever. So it really varies on like what type of traveler you are and who you're traveling with. So 6, you're gonna book all your hotels on your route. You're gonna pick your route at step 5. You're gonna book your hotels at step 6. And step 7 is you're gonna go. You're gonna have a badass time. You're gonna love it. And you're gonna feel very, very good. You wanna know why? Because you just followed these 7 steps to get your butt on the road and you know you're organized and you're ready to go. So just to sum up all 7 steps. First, you're gonna choose your destination. How are you gonna choose this? You're gonna choose it based on the length of time you wanna go, the time of year that you wanna go, and your budget. That's how you're gonna choose step 1. Step 2, make sure that you do your research ahead of time. This is research on hotels, on cars, on food, on any of your money situations. Step 2, all right? Step 3, you're gonna book your flight at step 3. Step 3, you already know where you're going, you know what time of year you wanna go, and you've done your research, so you know how much these flights should cost. That's step 3, so now you can book your ticket. Step 4, you're gonna write down everything that you wanna do in this destination. That's right, you're gonna have all the most important things that you wanna see written down. That's step 4. Step 5, you have your flight, and you've already written down what you wanna go see, so now you can plan your route. Step 5 is a very important one. Plan your route. Are you gonna go from Rome down to the heel of the boot and back up? Are you just gonna go from Rome to France and fly back out of France? That's a really important thing to know. Step 6. Once you have planned out your route, you can start booking hotels. This is so important because it's gonna save you money, it's gonna save you time, and it's gonna save you so much headache. I'm telling you guys, I was like a fly by the seat of my pants traveler forever. This is gonna save you money, it's gonna save you time, and you're gonna feel good. And number 7, you're gonna travel, and you're gonna have a great time, and you're gonna go, and you're gonna be able to relax because you follow these 7 steps to get your trip ready to go, and now you're a professional traveler. It's so easy. It's such a simple thing to do, but you just gotta do it. Thanks everybody for coming back to my channel. I'm so happy that tomorrow is gonna be 1 week, 7 days. Yeah, I did a week. I did a week, I did a week. Yeah, 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 yeah. Thank you so much for tuning in for today's video. If you did like this video, make sure that you subscribe to my channel, you like or you comment down below. It means so much that you guys are here. If you have any questions on travel stuff, make sure that you just let me know down in the comments, and I'll be happy to answer those questions for you. Come back tomorrow to see day 7, which is 1 week of my challenge. Have a great day.